My name's Stephanie Tucker. I'm the Game Management Section Leader and Furbearer Biologist for the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. There's no major regulation changes this year for any of the furbearer species. Pretty much the season dates, the timing of the seasons, and the harvest limits for those species that have harvest limits are all going to be the same as last year. Last season was the second year we had a statewide harvest season for bobcats. And so a couple years ago, we expanded opportunity for bobcat harvest into eastern North Dakota. Previously, it was south and west of the Missouri River, but now you can trap and hunt bobcats statewide. There's two zones. The state is split by Highway 83, east and west of Highway 83. And so the western half of the state is same as always. We have about 125, 126 day season out there. There's no bag limit. It starts in early November and it runs till mid-March. And then later in the season, towards the end of November, you can start pursuing, bobcats with hounds and things like that. And last year we only had about 21 bobcats taken in the western half of the state. So harvest was down last year, which is not surprising because the market is down as well for a lot of species of furbearers. And we had a hard winter, which kept a lot of trappers out of the field. And the eastern half of the state, where most of our bobcats are up in that northeast corner of the state, up in the Pembina Gorge region, we have a harvest limit up there. And last season, the harvest limit was 8, but only 4 bobcats were taken in the eastern half of the state. And so we'll keep that harvest limit 8 again this year. That season opens in late November, right after deer gun closes, and you can hunt them, trap them, use predator calls, pursue them with dogs all at that same time, and it'll run till mid-March or until that harvest limit of 8 is met. So we had, an early winter and snow most of the year. That definitely slows trappers down. And that on top of just kind of lower fur market going on. The international fur market was suppressed last year. There wasn't a lot of real bright spots in the amount of money that trappers were getting for a lot of furs last year. And so that just keeps a lot of people from going real hard after some of these species. And bobcats in the eastern part of the state, you can only catch one anyways. Sometimes they're caught incidentally to coyote harvest, and the coyote market is down as well. And so there's just not a lot of people going after some of those terrestrial furbearers anymore. Coyote populations are doing great. North Dakota, we have lots of coyotes. It's usually our #1 harvested furbearer in North Dakota. We have, for at least a decade now, record high coyote numbers in the state. I would say our coyote population this year is going to be very similar to last year. So whatever you saw out there last year, we're going to have similar numbers this year. But again, just not a lot of people going after coyotes because of that suppressed fur market and things like that. And so there's plenty of opportunity out there for coyote harvest for anybody that's interested. One of the artifacts of lots of coyotes and low fur market is that, often we get concerns about, especially from livestock producers, about coyote depredation or coyotes harassing their livestock. And so just a reminder to those producers out there that state law allows you to protect your livestock from coyotes year-round. So any time of the year, you can lethally remove a coyote, on your own property without a license. And so state law allows for that, as well as if you have, want some assistance, help removing coyotes that are depredating your livestock. There's a program with the USDA Wildlife Services that will provide free assistance in helping remove those problem coyotes. Last year, river otter harvest limit was 25 for the entire state, but things went really slow. Again, we had that early winter, ice on, cold weather. It's a lot of work to try and trap a river otter when we have deep snow and ice on everything. And so our harvest limit was not met last year. The season ran until mid-March, and only 24 of the 25 allowed harvest was taken by the end, or by mid-March there. And so again, the harvest limit this year going into this season will be 25 once again, and hopefully the weather cooperates a little bit more with trappers so they can go after those. Again, trapping for river otters, it's a trapping only season, limit of 1 river otter per person. Mountain lions, we've been pretty steady Eddie there for quite a few years now. Our breeding population of mountain lions is in western North Dakota in the Badlands, and that's where most of the mountain lions are taken. We do allow harvest statewide, though for mountain lions, sometimes mountain lions disperse out of the Badlands and show up in other areas of the state. For instance, last year, a mountain lion was taken by a hunter over by New Rockford, North Dakota, in eastern North Dakota. So that happens every once in a while, but The harvest limits and the timing of the seasons and the zones for mountain lions stay the same as last year. In Western North Dakota in Zone 1, we have an early season where 8 mountain lions can be taken and a late season where 7 mountain lions can be taken. The early season runs up and through deer gun season, and then the late season starts immediately after deer gun season closes. The difference between those 2 seasons, besides a slight difference in harvest limit, is that during the late season, only during the late season, can you pursue mountain lions with hounds. And so that's where most of the mountain lions are taken during that late season. And if the early season limit isn't met, but the late season is met pretty early, you know, we do have some opportunity for some more boot hunting, hunting without pursuing mountain lions without hounds later on in the year with our conditional season as well. When we have good conditions, good habitat and good water conditions, usually we have good muskrat populations. I know it's hard to think just back, you know, not this past spring, but the spring before, you know, we had pretty dry conditions around the state. Really put a damper on our muskrat populations in the state. We had been trending up prior to that 2 summers ago, and things have just kind of fallen back again. So again, we don't have real great muskrat numbers in the state compared to maybe 2011 or 12 back when you think back that far. But if the conditions maintain themselves and we keep good water conditions, you know, muskrats can rebound pretty quickly. They have good reproductive potential as a species to rebound pretty quickly. And so again, besides coyotes, usually muskrats are our second most sought after fur bearer. Again, unfortunately, there's not much market value for a muskrat fur these days. But there'll be muskrats out there this year, similar to last year, if not a little bit up in the prairie pothole region compared to last year. So we have this pretty limited opportunity to trap a fisher in North Dakota. And so fishers are this large weasel-like fur bearer. They're about, you know, max out at about 12 pounds, but they got long hair that can make them look pretty impressive. Traditionally found in the eastern third of the state, the Red River Valley and its tributaries, although we have had confirmations of fishers, you know, about halfway across the eastern half of North Dakota now. And we have a 1-week trapping only season for them. So traps are cable devices. That always starts again in late November when our cable device seasons open up and runs for just 7 days. And it's 1 fisher per person. Last year, about 26 fishers were taken during that 1-week trapping season. So there's still a lot of interest in people pursuing fishers during that limited trapping season. A smaller version of a fisher, similar looking species, is called the American marten. And so American marten looks like a terrestrial version of the mink. It's a brown mustelid, weasel-like species. It's got longer fur than the mink do, and it's also got a more orange chin patch, whereas the mink has a white chin patch or throat patch. And marten are found only in the Turtle Mountains of North Dakota. We have had a few isolated conformations on the Red River Valley, but primarily they're found in the Turtle Mountains. And it's just kind of one of those species that we've known it's been up there for quite some time. We know it's found pretty much well throughout the Turtle Mountains. And we're trying to find out some more information on marten. And more specifically, we're trying to find out how many marten up there to see whether or not we can reasonably open a limited trapping season for marten up there. And so there, of course, is interest, and if we can sustainably manage a limited harvest up there, we would like to do that. But we're going to have to embark on a very specific research project to find that information out. Just a reminder, you know, for trappers in particular, plots land is private land that's leased by private landowners, open to walk-in hunting and hunting only. It does not include trapping, so if you want to trap on a plot's tract, you'll need to contact the landowner and get written permission just like you would for any other private land in North Dakota. Wildlife management areas are a different story. Those are open for both hunting and trapping to anybody. We just want to remind people that if you are going to set traps, both cable devices or any traps on a wildlife management area, that you need to have your equipment tagged. And it either needs to be tagged with your name, address, and telephone number, or your equipment registration number, which you can get on your account on our website. You can sign up and get a free equipment registration number. That number stays with you for your life. So if you got some trap tags printed for your traps, that number will always be the same as long as you're in North Dakota and buying a North Dakota license. Sightings from the public is one of a really good way for us to keep track of some of these more elusive species that are difficult to survey, particularly things like black bears. You know, if you see a black bear in North Dakota it's a pretty good chance it is a black bear. You're probably not mistaking it for something else. They're pretty conspicuous, big guys on the landscape. And so please let us know. We want to know where you saw it, when you saw it. You can either call or email myself or somebody from the department, or we just have an online reporting form where you go online, you say report your sighting. It can be sightings of black bears, fishers, river otters, mountain lions, bobcats, all the stuff that's really difficult for us to survey. We want to hear those sightings from people because that really goes a long way in helping us keep track of where they are at in the state. You know, most fur bearers are habitat, generalists. Some are a little bit more specialists. There's not a ton of harvest pressure on these species, so we have, abundant opportunities to pursue them either by hunting or trapping, and so there's just a lot of opportunities to enjoy a lot of North Dakota fur bearer populations.